and I come home, and they were watching TV, and I laid down on the couch, and my dad said I went to sleep, and he noticed some movement and looked over at me, and I was shaking, and he said, "Boy, you cold?" And I didn't respond, and he reached over and grabbed me, and my eyes were rolled back in my head. Mom called 911, took off down the road, and by the time I got to Morehouse General, which is there in Bastrop, I was gray, hadn't been breathing, and so I don't know for sure if I was flatline or what, but it was potentially that was the case. I wasn't breathing on my own.
Welcome back, folks. It is episode 16 of Pines to Pews podcast, and we have wrangled another sorry sucker in here to talk some outdoors and a little bit of scripture. Mr. Blake, tell me who I got here because I just met him 5 minutes ago. So who we talking to today, Blake?
Man, this here is my bill. You know what a bill is?
Tell me.
A bill is a brother-in-law. I learned it from him. He taught it to me, and now he's saved in my phone as Bill. He is the king of the pipeline, a world-class deer hunter,
I don't know if I'd say
and a
that.
follower of Christ like me and you. So, welcome on, Kolten.
Yeah, I think the last part was the main part that was true. The other might have been a stretch, but
We can stretch,
Well,
man. It's our podcast. We can stretch whatever we want.
Yeah, and the last part's the only one that matters. Let
that's right.
everything else slide. You'll be all right.
That's right. That's right. That's the only one that's
Amen.
eternal. So, heck yeah.
There you go.
Amen.
There you go.
That
Well,
was good
Mr.
stuff.
Kolten, for me here and for everyone else out there, tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, all the way up to how you met Mr. Rudell there, and
Oh
we'll
yeah.
go on from there.
I'm Kolten Waters. Blake is married to my wife's sister, so that's how we're bills.
Yeah.
32 years old. I'll be 33 Thursday, March 5th. But
Hey, happy birthday.
that's
Yeah.
right. Father of two. I got a 3-year-old little boy and a 5-year-old little girl. And man, I've been on the road for about the last 12 years. First was kind of off and on, but we've been on the road as a family for 6 years. It's a different lifestyle for sure. It's had its ups and downs, but last couple of years has been different. I'll just say it that way, and we'll get into it. But anyway, yeah, I guess that's about it. I've been chasing, as he said, pipelines for quite some time now. So that's where it's at.
Yeah.
Yeah. For those who don't know that might be listening, could you explain what the pipeline is? When somebody says they work on the pipeline, what does that even mean?
Yeah, so there's a lot of it. There's a lot to it, really. It's more of like an assembly line, but if it's ran right, don't get me wrong, depends on the management. We lay lines depending on what the need is, but we'll lay steel or poly pipe in the ground from two set destinations, whether it be a transmission line for like natural gas fuel to a power plant, or an actual main line that runs from like out here where I'm at, Midland, Texas, to Houston or South Louisiana to the refineries. They'll pump oil there, or we'll send natural gas there to be exported, just that type of thing. Actually, what I'm doing out here now is the gathering part of it. We're on small lines. Just they'll drill the well, they separate the gas off, and then the company that I work for, we lay a line to them and then buy the gas off of their well. So anyway,
How'd you get into that?
shoot, man, I grew up farming my whole life, row crop farming. My dad, I guess when I was junior high, my dad went to work for a buddy of his on the pipeline in West Virginia. Man, he really kept telling me, this most money I've ever made in my life, boy. You need to do this. When you graduate high school, that's what you need to be doing. And he was on me about it for a while, and I got closer and closer to graduating. And then when I graduated, kind of a weird thing. It wasn't any disrespect or anything to him, but I didn't want to be known as Daddy's boy. Like he's only here because his dad got him a job type
Yeah.
thing. And I just didn't want that, and so I put it off and put it off and put it off, and finally a guy that he knew called me and offered me a job, and I went to work with him, and kind of took off from there. Obviously, from a farm background, I knew how to work, so that wasn't any issue. It's definitely an issue nowadays, but anyway, did that, and I worked, man. I kind of made my own name, I guess. I worked 8 years pipelining before I ever stepped foot on the same right of way as my dad. So anyway, it's just kind of one of those things. But that is how I got into it. I don't guess there's probably not a lot of people that know that, but anyway, that is how it came about.
Yeah.
And then I just kind of ran through the ranks in a fast way, and moved up. Pretty much at a young age, moved up, and before I knew it, I was pushing crews and everything else. But anyway, yeah, it's been a journey for
That's
sure.
awesome, man. Yeah. So are you? I know you kind of talked natural gas and a little bit of oil there. Are you particular? A lot of the pipelines you run, are they mainly dealing with natural gas and oil, or do you pretty much just wherever any type of pipeline at all is needed, your crew's headed out?
Yeah, so it's kind of strange, really. It's a different industry, man, and if you're not used to it, it's just it's nerve wracking, to be honest with you. If you're chasing like main
Yeah.
lines, which is like the big work, is it's kind of strange. You'll obviously every hand that you shake out here is a contact, and so it's just a big old
Mm-hmm.
network. And but like you'll work a job, you'll be there. Let's just say that they schedule a job out to have it done, or it will be completed. It's projected to be completed in 10 months. And when they finish the job, they hire who they need for the job, and then when the job's over, they lay you off and you go find another job. And so there's a few companies that you can kind of stay with them depending on how much work they got, but you do a lot of jumping around. And so for somebody that's not used to it, it's kind of nerve wracking. And it's like when I met Abigail, and started meeting some of the family, and we're at Christmas or whatever it is, and somebody asks, I'm like, well, yeah, we're about done where we're at. And they're like, well, where do you go? Where are you going next? I'm like, I have no idea. What do you mean? Help us to get laid off, They're like, oh, that's terrible. And I'm like, well,
Yeah.
it's normal for me. So
Just part of the
anyway,
job.
yeah. So it is. It's a
Going to the highest
different
bidder
thing, but
next.
yeah. And this gathering work is more consistent, and there's always something going on out here in West Texas. I always tell people, if you've never been out here, it's worth the trip just to do it once, to realize that there's actually terrain that looks like this in the United States, because there's not a whole lot out here. When the Bible says desolate, this is what I think about.
But you guys really like it out there, right, Colton?
Man, I do.
Y'all kind of settled in a good bit, right?
Yeah, it's different, man. I miss the trees and the water and the grass and all those things. It's just a different. I don't know how to explain it. It's different out here, but the people are from all over different places. So you have the people are good people. I don't know how else to explain it besides that. But yeah, we ended up out here right at 2 years ago, and man, it's been good. It's been good. We've gotten involved and kind of putting down roots, really. Um, it's a it's something. It's just different. I don't know how to explain it, really, but
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
the hunting and stuff, that's the
So,
stuff I miss. The fishing, because they talk about fishing out here, and I'm like, man, y'all don't have a clue.
What
so
kind of
uh
fishing they doing out there?
Man, believe it or not, there's a few places around here that's got some a lot of bass in it. They do some crappie fishing, and I mean they're kind of scattered, but it's like they were talking. One of the guys at church was talking about fishing and this and that, and how they go here and go there. And we were talking about it one day, and I was like, man, I was like, really? I was like, I can't relate because where I grew up, within an hour of me, there's 40 boat ramps, in some direction, I mean, it's just, anyway, it's just different, as far as that goes. But
And where did you grow up, Colton? What was home for you growing up?
yeah, I actually grew up in Bastrop, Louisiana. So just north of Monroe, about 25 minutes or so. Yeah. Yeah, that's where I actually
Yeah.
grew up, born and raised right there. My mom and dad moved there because of family right before I was born, and I was born there and lived my whole life. Didn't know. Everybody told me the majority of my life that I lived in the woods, and I didn't know what that meant till I started traveling, and then I understood what that meant.
Yeah, people tell you where you're from really quick. They
Yeah,
they they can tell you where you're from a lot better than you can. So
dude, I cannot tell you how many times I tell them North Louisiana, and they're like, "Do you know the Duck Dynasty people?" That's always the question. Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
always, always.
Oh man.
Well, people just
So
draw
so
to whatever they know about where you're from, and if that's all they know,
That's it, a
sorry
hundred
out to
be
you.
percent.
like, yeah, we're like, yeah, we're from Arkansas. And y'all know Walmart?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, we do.
yeah, sure do.
that or they
A few
ask
of
you
them.
like they ask to see if you got all your teeth.
Yeah, everyone asked me whenever I went to go play baseball in Oklahoma. Whenever I first graduated, they're like, "Dang, you buy them shoes just for college? Did you have any before then?" Like, yeah, I,
Yeah.
I had a pair for going to church. That's about it. So
Yeah, can y'all
I
really marry
I
your cousins there? That's
yeah, yeah. That's where we met all of our girlfriends at, was at the family
Family
reunions.
reunions.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. It's
yeah.
always a joke.
Oh yeah, yeah. So how did you and Abby meet?
And believe it or not, we actually met on a social media, a
There you
online
go.
dating deal. Yeah, and who would have
It,
thought it had turned into
yeah.
something like this? It's kind of wild, but hey, evidently God had a plan. Is all I know to tell you.
Yeah, man.
Amen.
Look at God. That's what I say.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
That's
Look
right.
at
I
God.
I met my wife at a club. It is what it, or a bar, whatever you want to call it. It's the Electric Cowboy.
Yeah,
That's episode
yeah.
3. Don't worry about
I met
That's
mine in
right.
the 6th grade.
Yeah, we all know where you met yours. Don't worry.
it. Yeah.
That's good.
Oh man.
I just can't
So
let go, man. Just can't let go.
Oh yeah.
you tried, but
Hold, just holding on, holding on
she
to the
wouldn't let
past.
you. Yeah.
Can't get rid of her now.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
So, do y'all what's it like traveling the road with your wife and kiddos all the time right there?
Man, it's a different lifestyle. We enjoy it. Don't get me wrong. We're ready for a house. Obviously, we've outgrown a. Which I mean, I got a 40-foot fifth wheel, so it's a big trailer, but it gets small quick.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But it's been when it was just me and her, it was awesome. We loved it, and it is fun. You get to pick up and move and go to different places and all these things, and even like having the kids, like there's times that we're like, it's aggravating, or you're out of room, and like you got everything you own with you because we don't have a house anywhere. So it's like we leave and
Yeah.
it looks like the Clampet's coming down the road, and I got side by sides and all this other stuff. We just anyway. So it's wild in that regard, but at the same time, like we had our kids. We spent almost a year in Colorado, and man, got to go to the mountains and got to go to the Cheyenne Frontier Days rodeo and got to go, all these different places. And so that part of it is pretty awesome, as far as traveling with your family. But
Yeah.
yeah, it does get small, and it's one of them things, you it's funny because like even and I'm sure we'll get into some of this later. Anyway, even as a married couple, when you live in a house or in a neighborhood or wherever, you can get away from each other. But when you're in a 40-foot trailer, you can shut the door and you still hear one another. You know what I mean? It's no, it's definitely been something different, but it's good, man. I'm not gonna lie. It's been good. We're kind of in that vein of a house, and we're getting close to that, and I'll talk about that some, what
Yeah.
the Lord's been talking about with that, and where we're
Yeah.
where we're moving in that regard. No, it's been good.
Yeah. No,
Heck
that's
yeah,
good
man.
stuff.
Tell us a little bit about axis deer hunting, man. I don't know nothing about axis deer hunting, but I heard through the grapevine that you know a little something about it, man.
Man, I actually got to go last year with the church. They do the church out here does a axis hunt every year, and it's about somewhere between 35 to 40 guys, and they turn us loose for like 4 days on 22,000 acres in the hill country down here, and lost my life. Anyway, but yeah, they turn us loose on the ranch down there, and it was kind of wild, man. I haven't bow hunted in a couple years. Obviously I've got a bow, whatever. And we went to talking about this, and I registered for this thing, pulled a bow out, and I'm like, yeah, I ain't shot this thing like a year and a half. And then my wife's sitting there talking, and we're sitting there talking about it, and I'm starting to think of like when the last time I actually pulled this thing out, and it's been like 4 years since I've shot my bow. And so
Yeah.
yeah, I was like, golly, and it didn't seem like that. So anyway, we went down
Time
there, and
flies.
I just assumed that this thing was gonna be easy. Like I just had in my head like high fence, like we're gonna go out there and shoot goats or something, just like, and
Yeah.
got down there, man, and it was definitely not that. It's low fence, everything is free range, and it was a challenge. It really was, and I expected, like, I was like, okay, well, I can take my whitetail knowledge and apply it to axis hunting, and that's not the case. They're two different animals, and if I had to compare it to anything, I've never been elk hunting, but from what people tell me and like the knowledge that I have about elk hunting, that's probably the closest thing to it because they travel in a herd, and obviously, the bucks will break off like a bull elk will, but they'll travel and they let out this, they call it a roar, but it sounds like a horse, like if you were a horse and you scream, like that's what it sounds like. Uh, in the morning, early in the mornings, and in the evening time, they start doing that, and then you just go after them. You get as close as you can and spot and stalk on them, and it's definitely a challenge. You're constantly paying attention to the wind and what's going on and what's around you. Because if we'd have been hunting whitetail, I'd have had them piled up. I walked up on them all week, But yeah, it was definitely fun, and it's a cool place, man. That they've been going down there for a while, and they have this concrete uh, water tank, like a pool. We'd call it a pool. They call it tank out here, but anyway. Um, but it's natural fed by a spring, and it's real cold water and all that. Well, anyway, they always, everybody ends up in there at some point because it's in the summer. It's always in July, and the axis rut is from like May to July. It's kind of wild, but it's different. But anyway,
Well,
um,
yeah, that's a long rut in the
yeah,
middle
it's
of
it's
summer.
it's kind of strange, and they shed their horns all year long. So that's just like their primary time, but they're constant. Like there's no set time that they drop their horns and start growing new like a whitetail. It's all year long. So you'll be running up on velvet deer all year. So it's wild.
That's
That's
awesome.
wild.
Yeah, it's definitely different. I'm excited. We're going back in July this year, and I'm excited. It's gonna be a lot of fun for sure.
On y'all's trip last year, somebody killed one, didn't they?
Yeah. The actually our pastor here at the church. So our church, they have two campuses. They have one here in Midland and one in Lubbock. And our campus pastor here actually killed one at 16 yards with his recurve.
Go
Yeah.
Oh my
ahead.
gosh.
Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
wild, pretty wild. Yeah, it's good stuff. Yeah, they killed a few. There was a couple other guys and whatever, but and then one of the guys that I met. This is a funny story, and I know y'all are all about funny stories. So we got there,
Yeah.
and me and the guy that so you can pair up, you partner up, and they give you a section that is like designated to you. And then if you wanted to hunt somebody else's that's designated, you just ask them, and if they give you permission, whatever you can. And obviously we all know each other, so anyway, but I didn't know who to go with, and the guy that I had been talking to, my buddy that I'd been talking to, he was already paired with somebody. And so we were back and forth talking about it. Well, one of the other guys that signed up is another guy that I've gotten real connected with, and he had never been either. And the only really hunting he had ever done is bird hunting. He'd done a little bit of whitetail, but not much. Like, he's never killed anything. And so anyway, we pair up and we get down there, and it's like he's like a long lost buddy for me. It's like I've known him my whole life. We get down there, and he's got a Jeep Gladiator, and he's pulling my Ranger my Polaris Ranger on the trailer. And we get to like the second bump gate into this ranch, because it's like the ranch off the blacktop is miles, the actual ranch house. And so we're on like the second bump gate, and I get out to open the gate. He drives through, and I got a flat tire on the trailer. Like, we just got there, and we're all ready. And so we change the tire and all this stuff, and we go in. Well, we get there, and there's a lot of guys that have already made it there, and they're like gone for the evening. They're out scouting, and a couple of them hunting and whatever. Anyway, so we get there and run into a guy that's from the church. Neither one of us really knew him. And he's like, oh yeah, just, how people are with directions. Yeah, just go down here and take a left, and go over here and take a right, and all this stuff and whatever. And then he's like, when you go through this gate, just stay to the right. And I was like, that was what I heard. Go to the gate, stay to the right. I missed all those turns before that. But anyway, so we unload and tear out. We get down there and go through this gate, and I'm like, okay, I think this is where it's at. He said stay to the right. So we take the road to the right of this Y, and we're driving down this thing, and me and Kate are talking, and I know you've heard people like driving from a distance. You've heard them on a side by side, they'll be talking, and they sound like they're screaming at one another, if it's quiet where you are.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're driving,
Yeah.
and we come around this curve, and I look up, and I was like, Kate, that's a man. And he's like, what? I said, look under that tree right there. I said, that's somebody. He's like, no, it's not. I said, I'm telling you. And about that time, he started moving, and he pulls his binoculars up, and I'm like, oh man, we done ruined somebody's hunt, and it's like 4:00. And now granted, the other thing is the sun don't go down out here till 9:30, sometimes during the summer. So anyway, that's kind of different too. But anyhow, so this guy picks his binoculars up, and I start backing up to like turn around. He starts waving us over there. And so we pull up, and he's like, hey man, what y'all doing? I was like, oh man, we're looking for our pasture. I ain't never been here, and he's like, what pasture y'all in? And we tell him, and he pulls it up on his phone. He's like, yeah, y'all are way lost. And so he shows us where, and I was like, well, I have on X. And so he drops a couple pins, and he's like, I'll show you some more stuff later. And I was like, all right. So we tear out, and we find our, where we're supposed to be and all this stuff. And we're sitting there. About that time, Kay looks, and he's like, oh man. I said, what? He's like, he picks his phone up off the dash. He's like, this is that dude's phone. So we ain't been to this place but 10 minutes. We done drove up on him and ruined his even hunt, and took his phone from him and drove off. And so, oh, dude. And I was like, yeah, I'm kind of freaking out. I'm like, man, is he going to know how to get back to the ranch house? Like, you know what I mean? Like all these things. And so, anyway, we drive back up. It gets later in the evening, whatever. We waited till dark, and we drove back up. And we pull up there, and like there's some people already there, and there's people coming in and whatnot, and I'm still looking around like I haven't seen this guy, and I'm starting to get nervous because I mean it's it's getting late, and I keep looking around or whatever. Well, finally, like the campus pastor come in, and I was telling him, I was like, man, I don't know who this guy is. I'm explaining it to him, and he's like, oh, that's EJ. And I was like, okay. And he's like, he knows the ranch like the back of his hand. Like he's here all the time. I was like, oh, okay. And so this guy walks up, and I hear him telling the story. He's like, yeah, these two knotheads freaking pulled up, and they're talking to me and this and that, whatever. And he drove off. And he's like this and that. Well, at the time, he thought he dropped his phone out there. So he'd been walking around like looking for his phone. He thought he done dropped it. And we had it the whole time, And I was like, hey, here you go. He's like, man. He's like, that's ridiculous. He's like, I'm glad you had my phone though. I thought I'd lost it. So yeah, it's pretty wild. We hadn't been
Remember
there
them
10 minutes.
knotheads?
Yeah.
Knotheads got your phone.
I'm telling you.
Man.
Yeah, it was a trip.
That's funny.
Did you
Yeah,
have
it's
any
a
like
good time
close
for me.
encounters with an Axis at all, or did you get close to almost shooting one, or how did that part of the hunt go?
Man, I actually on the I think it was like the third afternoon, something like that. That EJ guy, he actually ended up, his name is EJ Varos, and he runs a huge whitetail ranch down on the Mexico border. And he's like huge in the hunting community. Didn't know none of this. Like he was real down to earth. Like, I kept listening. I was listening to conversations he was having with people, and he was talking about animals. And I'm like, this guy's done it, And he's talking about like
Yeah.
African safari and like all kind of things. And anyway, I finally look him up on Instagram. I type his name in, and it's like all kinds of posts, but it's not like him posting. It's like, name brands posting stuff of his. And
Yeah.
anyway, he's a real cool guy, but he set me up. He's like, hey, if you ain't killed nothing by this evening, you need to go over here to this water hole. And so he had everything laid out, knew exactly where I needed to be, all these things. He set me up and had me, he's like, it's 34 yards. He's like, shoot your bow at 34 yards. Like, drug me over there with a target at camp, He's like, shoot your bow. And I was like, all right. So anyway, we done all that and went that evening and had an Axis doe come in, and she's kind of quartered to me, and I shot. And when I shot, way faster, to me, they were way faster than a whitetail. And she wheeled, and I caught the very front of her breast with like one blade of my broadhead, like not even enough to do anything, It just threw the arrow. Yeah. And but anyway, that was the only one I got a shot off at. But yeah, it was different. And that's when I said something about them being fast, EJ was like, yeah, they're from India. They've running from them tigers over there their whole life, so they're pretty quick.
There you go.
There you go. That's funny, but there's an element of truth to that. There's got to
100%. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's where supposedly they were
to be that fast.
Yeah, supposedly they were transplanted here. I want to say, if I'm thinking right, it was in the early 70s, transplanted here. And I didn't know this, but they were also transplanted on the Hawaiian Islands, and they say they are overrun over there.
Really? I've watched some people hunt them in Hawaii on like YouTube and stuff. I couldn't tell you who I was watching, but I've watched people hunt them.
Those Seek One boys actually. Yeah. If you ever watched them,
they might have, because I think
they did Hawaiian Axis deer hunt. So
I think you're right. I think you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched him on Lee Ellis. That's some, dude.
Oh yeah. So, I heard you kind of reference this a little bit. It sounded like you might have been on a boat sometime with old Blake before. Is that true?
Oh, absolutely, man. The family weekends. I don't get to make them very often, but we try to make a
We
special
don't
trip
either.
to see Blake and the clan, Blake and MA and the clan. But yeah, we went to this last year, 4th of July. Matter of fact, right before the Axis hunt, we went to our wives' Grandpa Ken's house, and I actually when we got up there, me and Blake was talking. I was like, man, it's been a long time since I've been up here. Got to counting, another one of those things. Got to counting. It's been 7 years since I've been there, and
Yeah, it
but
seems like last year, you're like, I think it was the year before last. I don't know. And then it's like
yeah,
a decade ago.
yeah, it's crazy. Telling you, man, it happens. Yeah. Blake got to bring the. I say got to bring. I don't know how that came about, but anyway, he ended up bringing the pontoon, and we went ahead to stake claim to that. It's like, yeah, we're gonna do this, but no, we really enjoyed it. I always enjoy it anyway. Me and Blake get together. We jive, so we always have a good time no matter what, whether it's chasing kids or whatever. But no, we got out there and I
We
got
was
to
trying to
laughing
start
at
a
Blake.
TikTok, remember?
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. We got out there and I was laughing at Blake because we would. It was like the Southern Dad thing. I know you've seen those couple guys, a couple of the content creators
Oh
that are,
yeah.
the Southern Dad. But Blake's out there and he's got his I don't know what do you call that hat that you wear?
Just one of them floppy hats, like full brim
Yeah,
joints.
got it
Oh
pushed
yeah.
up like
Oh
this,
yeah.
Just
with the straight across. And he's out there.
it's
And
got buttons on the
anyway,
side so you can flip it up.
yeah. And every time a wakeboard comes by, a wakeboard boat comes by, he's just ragging on them. All them young kids, they stirring up this water. They need to quit all that. They polluting the bottom or
I
something.
hate
I
it.
don't remember. Anyway, I was
He's,
I was cracking up,
he's
dude.
trying to keep the kids off his yard out on the lake.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I
Ain't no
truly
sense in
hate
all that
wakeboard
speed.
boats.
He's got a passion against him. I
No,
promise.
I hate a wakeboard boat.
Oh my gosh.
Everything about a wakeboard boat was designed to keep anyone else that's not in that wakeboard boat from having fun.
There it is, right there. Oh man.
It's
Oh
so
my
stupid.
goodness.
That boat is so stupid that they fill it up with water.
That's right.
Explain
That's
that one.
right.
So
Oh
that they
man.
can make the waves that bother everybody even bigger.
That's about like I bet them same people got holes in their jeans.
You know they do.
Guaranteed.
Oh yeah.
Guaranteed.
Oh yeah.
You know they do. I ain't finna put up with it. I'm gonna tell you that. I'm not finna put up with it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh
What a
man.
trip. What a trip.
No,
No, I told him,
we
I was
brought
like,
the
you're gonna,
party barge on that trip on purpose
yeah.
because I got too many kids.
Well, we were
There
talking
you
I
about
got
go.
too
that.
many kids, man.
You worry about the sand getting everywhere and all that. Blake's like, see here, this one, I just bring her on home. We pressure wash her off and we're good to go.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. My kids are already they destroy that party barge every weekend. But and I love to go up there. And he's got their grandpa Ken's got a sweet boat. It's like an 80s or 90s Sea Ray in pretty great
98.
shape.
Mm-hmm.
But man, it's just something my kids are gonna destroy, straight up. And so
You
it's
can
like,
corral them on yours and just like they break something,
yeah.
it
Well,
is
you
what
know
it
how
And
is.
and my
party barge
boat's
got
been
a
around a
fence.
long time. Yeah, that too.
Yeah. So you're good.
It's got a fence. Yeah. It's not in pristine shape, so it can take a little mud and nasty. I can wash it off, and the best part is it's not the same. It's the same boat I grew up on. Landon was all on that when we were kids because it was
Oh
my
yeah.
dad and stepmom's before. But we bought a brand new trailer for it, so it travels well. So it just made sense that year. Was that this past summer?
Yeah, it was 4th of July this
Yeah,
year.
because
So.
it was right. Ma was pregnant. She was because we
She was
had a baby
pregnant.
in August, but that's right. Yep. And so, but yeah, we were like, you know what? Normally they'll be like, don't bring your boat, don't bother with that. But this year I was like, man, no, it's about 6 hour drive, 5 or 6 hour drive. I was like, that's what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
That's what we're gonna do, and it was the best decision ever, just because I didn't have to worry about what they were doing. Yeah.
I think it was more one of those.
Go ahead, Cole.
Ask for forgiveness instead of permission. I think it was more one of those.
Yeah. But
yeah.
The old pontoon boat, as discussed before, has a downside. It's got that very, very reliable Honda motor on it. Reliable is the best way to describe that motor because she cranks up every time. Very low maintenance, very, very dependable. But she ain't fast. And she don't just got a lot of muscle in her either. Not a lot of muscle. And this lake we were on is Lake Texoma.
Okay.
And it's a pretty big lake. Pretty nice sized lake and a pretty popular one at that. And Landon, I know you know popular lakes on the 4th of July that got some size to them. You can find yourself in a white cap situation if any weather comes about.
Oh, yeah.
Any.
Did I tell the story about almost wrecking that thing on Cross Lake? With my kids in the floorboard crying?
Yes.
Yeah. So that was where my PTSD came from because Kolten may not know, but Landon can attest that I have a history of going fast in boats in the dark, tiller handle, don't matter. But I also have a history of wrecking boats or boat trailers on the highway. I got a lot of that going on that didn't set off PTSD. What set off PTSD was when I got stuck with my family out on the lake during some bad weather. And ever since then, I've just been a lot more careful and a lot more just alert. Not really. I'm just becoming less and less of a fan of the water like I used to be. And I don't know if I'm getting old or just too many bad things happened or what, but man, it happened that day out on Texoma. And we all were sitting out, we were parked there, and it came the time where you can see the weather rolling in, and everybody's been there where we're debating on what we're finna do. Should we leave now and try to beat it? Or is it going to pass right over us? You know? And
Everyone
I think
starts getting their phone. You're tracking the weather. What's that radar doing?
Whatever, you know? And so I'm like, well, the thing is it starts white capping and all that long before the weather hits. So I don't remember, Kolten, did we sit through the storm?
We did because we evaluated that the Honda was not going to be fast enough to get us across there.
Yeah. And I just figured it better to sit. There wasn't no lightning or nothing like that. It's better to just sit in the rain and get wet because that's going to happen on the way and you're going to be scared for your life while you're getting soaking wet. Regardless. So we were just like, we'll just wait and get soaking wet and then the water will calm down. But I don't remember why we left when we did because it was still bad.
I don't remember either. I want to say that maybe that sail moved through and there was another one behind it or something. I don't
maybe
remember.
So either way, we decided the storm passed through and we decided it was time to go. And I mean, boy, it was the same situation I had before on Cross Lake, but much longer, drug out much longer, and many more people on the boat. I mean, I don't even know how many people we have on this boat, Colton.
Man, 4 adults and at least 6 kids or 5 kids, and then JB and them was on there too. I think.
And Jane was on the front, and somebody else up front. Might have been JB.
I think it was
your
JB
whole crew and my
buddy.
whole crew in the back of the boat.
It was several of us.
You ever see them videos of them barges and the big tugboats out in the ocean?
Oh yeah.
I can hear the music in the background, like while I'm driving the boat. It's like low.
I knew.
I'm like, holy no.
I knew he was getting nervous. How I knew he was getting nervous is he pulled that hat off and threw it in the floorboard. And I was like, Blake's getting a little nervous.
We're like, we're soaking wet because the boat will go up and it'll just crash down and just throw water up. And I mean, we're riding like 6 and 7 foot swells, just wah, and that motor just won't even get over the top. It's just like wah, and you can hear the boat just like pow, pow, right? And I'm just like this, like, you know, my whole family. That's what starts. It's like my whole family and other people's family are on the boat. And I'm just like a nervous wreck because it's like, you know what? I got a lot of experience with boats. If it was just me and old Kolten, probably be all right. Probably wouldn't even have thought about it. But man, the more I'm thinking about it, I'm just like, hey, you know, I got that little birdie in my ear, like, hey man, you got bad history with boats, homeboy. Now you're in charge of making sure all these people are okay, dude. I was scared to death, man, the whole time. But I was like trying not to talk about being scared to death because I'm the boat driver, you know?
Well,
Yeah.
And you know,
and
Colton's
knew
like,
who was on
Blake,
there.
you scared, ain't you?
I said, you nervous? Calm down. It's going
Colton's
to be
like,
all right.
you ain't nervous, are you? We all right. We going to be fine. I seen you throw that hat off. I know you nervous. I'm like, shut up.
Are you nervous?
I ain't
And
nervous.
he knows my wife. My wife, if the boat rocks a little bit, she's ready to do something different. She don't
Well, that
like
was another reason I wasn't saying nothing either, because I'm a therapeutic talker. So whenever things ain't going so good, sometimes I gotta just talk through it, you know. So normally I'd be like, "Hey man, you think we finna die?" I don't think we're not gonna. No, we all right? And you'd be like, "No, we good," and I'd be like, "Yeah, we good," you know, like. But I knew I couldn't do that because I knew Abby would freak out,
Oh,
and
man.
I mean rightfully so. So I was just like, I better be quiet.
See, you were just asking
Colton's
yourself
like,
in your head.
Colton's like, you think we're gonna die? You're acting like you think we're gonna die. Are you scared?
Oh, I'm the comic of the bunch for sure.
oh
I ain't scared. I ain't scared. Shoot, I
gosh,
am.
and man, I've been around Blake whenever the realness sets in. Blake's the comic of a group as well too. But then
Oh,
it
yeah.
hits a point where, and this is with everyone, but you can see it on Blake's face where it hits of this ain't funny no more. This is
Nope.
real life.
No, like I
and
said, he had
and
he had that
you
steering
could see it
wheel.
on his face.
He had that steering wheel white knuckled, and when he pulled that hat off and threw it in the floorboard and put that head back on, I said, "Yeah, buddy, yeah, this thing got real."
Dude, it was real, man. But
It was.
luckily, I mean, I remember we eventually got closer to that inlet over there and things chilled out. And I remember just being like,
yeah,
and it's like, you don't think you're going to crash, but dude, that thing it's still, even though you're not going to crash, that thing will nosedive in situations like that. And what it'll do is it'll sweep a kid away. Or like, that's what the kind of things that were going through my mind is like, if we catch a bunch of water, will it grab one of these little ones? And then it's like, can we turn around and get them? Like, it's crazy. Can we even get the boat turned around without flipping the whole, you know, that's going through my head all at once. Like, you know, that kind of
And then you
deal.
start thinking of like which one would I turn back for and which one's worth just going, you know?
Yeah. Which one? Look, the mouthy one. No, I'm just kidding.
It might be a little longer timeout than you're used to today.
Yeah, I'm
So,
telling you.
No.
Yeah, man, that was terrifying to me just because it was, I don't know, it was all those things combined. It wasn't like a anybody dying situation more than it was just kind of like, how bad can this get out of control if this thing takes a nosedive? I'm trying not to let it take a nosedive, but it ain't got enough motor to get up and ride on top of these swells like that. Like, you know, if I had about $1.15 on the back of it, probably could have just planed right on out over the top of that and just had a bumpy ride all the way back. But that old 50, man, I love it because it's reliable. and I,
Dude,
never
I
have
can
any
see
issues out
that
of it.
boat right now.
In all her glory, misbehaving, yeah,
She
in all her glory.
the Sweetwater, right? Isn't that
Yeah,
the
yeah.
name of the company? Yeah.
Well, it's Sweetwater is the brand, but it's
The
made
brand.
by Sweetwater is like it's like the edition or whatever, but it's made by
Model.
dadgummit, because I went to a dealer and bought a table last year. I'll let you
Maybe
know.
How much that run you?
Yeah.
What's up?
I said how much that'll table from the dealer cost you? I'm sure they didn't let you get out there for cheap.
Well, it wasn't bad. I paid $100 for it, but it was used. So I was at the dealer and I said, "Hey, I got this. It's like a 93 whatever model boat. Here's what it is." And he was like, "Well, you're not going to be able to." He's like, "I can try to order a part for it, but," he's like, "you're probably not going to be able to order a part for it because they probably
Yeah.
don't make it anymore." He was like, and then he was like, "Well, let me go look in the back and see what I got." And he came walking out, and it was like that brand from that brand of boat, and it didn't belong on ours at all. It's probably from like a 2010 model or something. But he was like, "I got something that you need more than you'll ever know." And I was like, "What?" And he pulled out exactly what I asked for.
Appreciate
You made it
There you
sound
go.
like it was something different. I asked for that. But anyways, he had it and the two legs that go with it, and it was like $100. I was like, sold, I guess. There's no market, so I don't like. He was like, "You couldn't get this thing new for less than 300." I'm like, well, it ain't new, but anyways, hey, cool, whatever.
Just did.
Throw it in the buggy. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Appreciate you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then now it's sitting
Oh
in my
man.
shop up in the rafters, and I ain't done the first thing to install it in the boat.
But you got it. It's ready.
But I got it.
It happens
Yeah.
that way.
That's I can already tell you. It's going to be whatever weekend is Memorial Day. The night
Yeah.
before, that table's coming down from the
Somebody's gonna
rafters.
want that table in that boat.
Guaranteed.
Yeah, somebody. It's going to be automatically. All of a sudden, it's an emergency that table get in that boat.
I'm telling you, you're gonna find out all the problems that that you've been
It's
hiding
not going to
from.
be because of me, dude. I'm a redneck. That table broke off, and now there's a hole in the floor where the base of that table was, where it broke off. And but I'm a redneck, man. So now, in my mind, the table's not in the way, and there's plenty of leg room now for people to sit back there.
Yeah,
I like the open space, but
yeah. It's an open floor
and
plan.
if you could crappie fish through the hole of that floor if you wanted to, man. I don't have to
Okay.
worry
There you
about all
go.
that. But there may be
Uh,
certain people in my house that probably want that table installed, man.
That's right.
yeah,
So we can
yeah.
eat charcuterie boards. Where would we eat our charcuterie boards if we didn't have
Right.
that table installed?
Shoot, you can't hide money.
All our different cheeses. You know they got
Yeah,
blueberry cheese?
They sure do.
I didn't.
They
Bruh,
sure do.
blueberry cheese is where it's at. If you ain't had blueberry cheese, what are you doing?
So does it have blueberries in it, or is it made
Yeah,
of blueberries?
it's like chunks. It's like chunks of blueberry, but not like whole blueberries. No, it might be whole blueberries because I've just ate it sliced. So maybe they were whole. I only ate it sliced.
You've never tried to scoop one out with a spoon
No,
before it
I've
gets cut
never
up?
seen the block of cheese. I just usually what happens is I went out to do something productive, and somebody else made a charcuterie board while I was doing that, and then I'll come back
Something
inside,
productive.
and there lies the cheeses. But then I'm never mad about it because it's delicious.
My charcuterie boards are plastic, and they've got cheddar. What is it? Colby Jack? Is that the
Mm,
yellow and the white one?
yeah.
And then some salami rounds and some pepperonis.
He said,
About
and
nine nine
a
ninety seven.
Oreo.
About 9.97 from Walmart.
He said they got an Oreo and a Capri Sun too.
Yeah. Is
That's a
that
steal, man.
mold? Is that mold? No, it's just pepper jack. We're good.
That's
Seasoning.
pepper jack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can't tell the difference between mold and pepper jack.
Oh my goodness. Well, we would be remiss if we didn't I haven't had the chance to hear your testimony yet, Mr. Colton, and I hear it's a good one. So I'd love to hear, where in your timeline did you come to know the Lord, and what did that look like in your life and with your family, and where you are today?
Okay. Yeah. It started at a young age, man. I grew up in church. We went to an Assembly of God church. So, kind of I don't, I always say that they believe in it all, but,
Filled with the Spirit.
yeah, spirit church for sure. Um, anyway, grew up, in church, and, my mom worked at the church, and then my dad, he was on the worship team. He plays all kinds of instruments, but anyway, he was on the worship team, and so we, grew up going to church and was there pretty much every time the doors was open, and we were really involved. And then when I was I was 7, um, uh, I had a what they call a grandma seizure, and it was a bad deal, and don't really know what caused it. It just kind of happened, and I don't necessarily remember any of it. But my dad, as far as what happened, my dad said that I came in. I'd been gone all weekend at a friend's house, his birthday and all this stuff, and I come home and they were watching TV, and I laid down on the couch, and my dad said I went to sleep, and he noticed some movement and looked over at me, and I was shaking, and he said, "Boy, you cold?" And I didn't respond, and he reached over and grabbed me, and my eyes were rolled back in my head, and uh, obviously not responsive or anything. Mom called 911. Daddy realized it wasn't going to, they weren't going to get there in time, threw me in the car, took off down the road. And by the time I got to Morehouse General, which is there in Bastrop, I was gray, hadn't been breathing. And so
Mm.
I don't know for sure if I was flatline or what, but it was potentially that was the case. I wasn't breathing on my own. They got me in the back of an ambulance at Morehouse because they wouldn't do anything. They said that they couldn't do anything for me. They had to take me to Monroe. So on the way to Monroe in the back of the ambulance, um, I I caught my breath, started breathing on my own. And when I got to Monroe, they obviously put me in the hospital, all the things. And while I was out, like I don't know exactly how long I was out, but I was in like a coma state. And so for a pretty good period of time. And I woke up. I remember waking up, and I woke up. Of course, I had all these tubes in and everything else. And I start making noise, and this nurse comes in, and she's kind of looking at me wild and starts pulling tubes. She's like, and of course, as soon as she got the tube out of my throat, first thing I said was, "Where's my mama?" And because I was 7,
Yeah.
and she calls my mom, and everything. They come in, whatever. I'm talking and all this stuff, and obviously I know more about the story now, but I didn't know then. But when I got there, and of course I'm out in this coma state and all these things, they told my mom and dad that I'd be a vegetable for the rest of my life. I'd never walk again. I'd never talk again, never eat on my own. I'd never do anything. And so I woke up talking, and which was like, you know, kind of brain shock for everybody.
Yeah.
And then the doctors were like, going through everything within. It was 2 or 3 days later. My actual doctor that was like I don't know what he would have been, what he's considered, but anyway, he was the one that dealt with the seizure stuff, the epilepsy. I guess an epilepsy doctor. I don't know exactly. Neuro, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, he comes in, and I got out of the bed and walked to him and shook his hand when he came in the door, and I was just all kind of blown away. But it was it was a miracle, right? I mean,
Yeah.
God had a plan. It wasn't my time. a mom and dad that were deep in the faith, and we were involved and whatnot. And I'll never forget that. Uh, anyway, that was a radical thing that happened to me when I was a kid. And after that, I had a few different things when I was younger where I would like, and I know this is different for some people, but I would actually hear the Lord like tell me things, and just kind of different instances, but one that I can remember for sure, like that's for sure that I remember. I just remember like this, and it's I think back, it's like you're thinking about like a kid's mind, but it was like the Lord said, "Pray for the world." He kept saying, "Pray for the world," and so like I went out of the back of the church. We were at church one night, and that was the Lord, pray for the world. So I went out of the back doors of the church, and like I told my mom, told the preacher, like they knew what was going on. Anyway, I went out, and I pray for the world. Like that was what I heard, so that's what I was doing. And we ended up church was over, and we left, and like shortly after we left, this guy pulls in into the church. He's like drunk and wasted, and comes into the church, and like deliverance, get saved, like all these things right after that. Anyways, just I don't know. I don't hang things up to coincidence, but anyway,
Yeah.
Me neither.
so we were involved in church, or as far as me at a young age, and then some things happened in the church, and we left the church, and it was kind of a strange deal. I'm not gonna get into all of it, but anyway, I had kind of attached myself to this that you hear all the time now, this church hurt stuff. And I say attach myself because, and I can go deep into this, but I say attach myself because that is something like that is something that you claim, right? And so if something in the church happens, don't get me wrong, I understand that there are things that happen in the church, but men are fallible, right? And so if something happens in the church, it's you can call it church hurt if you want, but God didn't hurt you. You know what I mean? A
Yeah.
man might have hurt you, but God didn't hurt you. And so uh anyway, that's another deal. But did that for a long time, man, and really I just kind of turned in the opposite direction and ran for a long time, and started traveling on the road. Lived a pretty wild lifestyle, you know, just a lot of different things. And me and Abigail met obviously, and we were together for a long time, and then finally we got married in 2020, and right around COVID, and had Milo. And in that time, we were at a point to where like things were obviously we didn't do things the way we were supposed to, and so I was fighting all kind of stuff, and just deep into the stuff that I didn't have no business being, and just not doing what I was supposed to be doing. And
Yeah.
anyway, when we had Milo, right at 2020, we didn't know what was going to go on, all these things. And, everybody was, I mean, y'all lived through it. So, we had her in July. All the stuff really kicked off around March where everything went crazy and we didn't know what to expect. Everybody we was hearing from that they're not going to let you leave the hospital and nobody can come in, nobody can go out type thing. Anyway, we did all that and then had Milo. Everything was good. And anyway, come out of that and just kind of went through some tough times. I was out of work, couldn't find work like I was talking about, got laid off. And so just did, didn't know what to do. And then I started working and I took a job for less money and all this stuff. Anyway, just kind of in a rough season, and in 2022, fast forward 2022, she was pregnant with Everett, our little boy now. It was right after he was born. It was in September. I want to say it was September. Um, Headed to work, and I was just like fed up. No purpose, no drive. I was drinking like uncontrollably, and just in a bad place mentally, everything, and just anyway, just kind of looking for like, surely life's got to be better than this, and
Yeah.
I've never fully like. I always knew the Lord was there, and I would pray from time to time. I just didn't devote myself. And anyway, I was on the way to work one morning, and no other way to explain it, but the presence of God filled the truck. And it's hard for me to talk about without getting emotional. But anyway, crying, screaming at the windshield. Just it was a call home, And so things started to change. I didn't really tell anybody about none of it. And things started to change, and I didn't realize it at the time. I know now, but the Lord was working on my heart before I ever fully committed back to Him. And anyway, a lot of changes started happening. Obviously, I started getting convicted about just several different things that I wasn't doing right and that I needed to change in these things. Anyway, we finished up a job out here in Sweetwater, Texas, and I didn't know where I was going, and was trying to figure out, where the next one was and all this thing. And it's just the way my line of work, way it works. Anyway, I got this call from a guy. We'd gotten laid off, and we was just hanging out for a few weeks to see what happens, see if I get a lead somewhere. Got this call from a random guy I've never met before, didn't really know him. He'd got my resume, and calls me up and is like, "Hey, I need a guy on nights in Greeley, Colorado." And I was like, "Okay." And I was like, "Well, how long is it?" And he's like, "Oh, about 6 weeks." I'm like, "Golly, I'm gonna drive from Texas to Colorado for 6 weeks." Uh, I asked Abigail. I said, "Do you want to go? We go to Colorado." And I'm like, "I'm gonna be on nights. It's gonna be one of those things where I'm on a crew that's not, we're not gonna be doing a whole lot at night. So I probably get to nap and stuff. It's gonna be like a paid vacation. That's how I sold it anyway." And so anyway, we left here. We was out here pretty close to where I'm at now. Left here and went up there, and she cried the whole way. She did not want to go. But anyway, we got up there, and it was, like I said, I didn't know it at the time, but it was all part of his plan. But we got up there, and I went to work. I knew one person on the whole job, and didn't really know anybody. And the guy that I was working for was an older guy that he's been in the craft for 50 years, 40 years. He'd been doing it a long time, his whole life. And at the time, I had started reading my Bible and started doing some of those things. Like I just, just kind of and it was funny because it was like, it wasn't something I was talking about. Like, I don't even think I'd really told Abigail any of that. And at that point anyway, and I felt a draw to go to church and just to find somewhere like just fellowship of believers. And I think we all kind of get that draw at some point. But and so anyway, we found this church and went to it, and it was a bigger church, and we started going in, and it was perfect for like where I was at, as far as faith wise. And Abigail at the time, I didn't know it at the time. She told me later that she just went to like just going through the motions, Oh yeah, that'd be good, Let's go. And so she was just more tag along, I guess, than really intentional. But it sparked, and I began to grow and began to change, and she started seeing change in me, which obviously, started moving things. The household's kind of being shaken a little bit. anyway, we did that and was going to church there or whatever. Ended up being there. I was supposed to be there 6 months. Ended up being there. We didn't leave. I got there March 10th, and we didn't leave until right before Christmas, December 22nd. So we stayed there all year. We stayed up there. Well, in that time, the one thing that was bad on me was my mouth. I cussed like a sailor. And it was one of those things. It was like, I blamed it on the oil field. Well, I'm in the oil field, and anybody that's been in the oil field knows, and it's just it's a common thing. And so that was what I blamed it on. I'm not as bad as the rest of them, kind of a comparison deal. I'm not as bad as the rest of them, so I'm better and this and that, whatever. As far as my speech, and the guy that I was working for, the construction manager up there, was very, very professional. And the whole time I was up there, like, he didn't cuss, he didn't do any of that. Like, you just very professional guy. And it was like the Lord highlighted me to him one day, because that was in my head. It was that, when I don't cuss as much, so I'm better, whatever. And it's like he highlighted him to me one day, and was like, if you needed an example, here you go. Here's a guy that's been in it for 40 plus years, and you can't tell me you can't do it, type of thing. And it was like, okay. And from then on, it was just like, I'm just not going to do it. And so it just, things, just started tumbling from there. And then we came back, and went to Louisiana, stayed for a little while, and just kind of bounced around, short jobs here and there. And I finally got the call to come to Midland. Well, in that time in Colorado, I had a boy that used to work for me, and I had been talking to him and kind of sharing with him what was going on with me. And in that time, he was here in Midland, where I am now, and he started going to this church. And he was like, man, I went to this church this weekend. Like, this is, after us weeks of talking, he's like, I went to this church this weekend. And he's like, man, I've never experienced anything like that. Anyway, we've talked about it and whatever. So we bounced around, like I said, coming from Colorado, and I got a phone call to come to Midland. And I accepted the job, knew we were coming, and so I called, the boy that used to work for me, and his name's Trevor. Called Trevor, and I was like, hey, man, we're fixing to move to Midland. And he's like, man, you gotta go check that church out. And I was like, oh yeah, that's definitely on the list, And by this time, I'm pretty deep in the Word, and my prayer life's starting to get back where it needs to be, Anyway, we get out here, and we were here for, I don't know, a couple weeks maybe, and went to the church, and like had the plan of, we're going to find a church, we'll start here, and then we may try this one, try that one, and kind of figure out where we fit in at. And we went to the church, and one of the things that pastor said that stuck with me was, when he got saved, at a like a big conference. And he's like, I came home and started looking for a church. And he's like, the churches that I went to, I knew that if Jesus said that he's building his church, then he should be there. And so that was the only way I can explain it, is Jesus is there. You know what I mean? And so,
Yeah.
Anyway, we've been there now, and I'm thoroughly involved in all of it. One of the associate pastors is a real good friend of mine, and they have a home group. They call it Home Church. They do like I think it's 10 weeks, 10 or 12 weeks throughout the year. They split it up. And that's like, it's a close knit, it's more 20 to 30 people at an actual house, and anyway, it's a different deal. But that's really that I have to give it to that, as far as the depth I am now. We met some people out here, and it just started, one thing after another. But we had been here about, I'm gonna say, 2 months, And we've always, anywhere we've ever been, me and Abigail's always had the conversations of like, well, when we get to where we're going next, we're going to do this. Or when we get to where we're going next, there's always some kind of conversation like that. And it wasn't happening. We're 4 or 5 months in and nothing's even being talked about that way. Like our minds aren't even thinking that way. And
Mm-hmm.
I told her, I was like, man, we've traveled for the last 6 years together, and I've never been somewhere that I felt like the Lord was like, hey, this is where I need you. And anyway, it just kind of happened that way. And like I said, we've gotten involved now, and June will be 2 years. We've been here 2 years. And obviously, I'm involved with the men's ministry. I do a lot with them and do a lot of stuff with that. And it's been awesome to just to get to help. It's funny because like things you go through in life and things that you deal with, uh, the Lord will put people in your path that are dealing with that same thing for that reason. And it's funny how He redeems things. He's the Redeemer, but it's funny because He redeems things in that way, I believe. And so it's been a really awesome journey, man. And to watch Abigail grow, and just talk about like her concept of faith from childhood into like what it is now, and it's just it's a difference. I don't know, it's hard to explain, but
Oh yeah.
it's been really awesome, man. Our family and as far as our marriage, I truly I don't know that we would still be married if it wasn't for this radical transformation and just I call it a snatch back from the Lord. Um,
Yeah.
and it's done so much for us as far as a couple, as far as a family. It's been truly life changing for sure.
Amen.
I mean, that was a good
Amen.
testimony. I had no idea about your seizure as a kid.
Yeah, a
I had
lot of
no
people
idea
don't.
about that,
I
man.
haven't.
That's wild.
Yeah, I haven't told that story very much. There's a handful of folks that know about it, but I hadn't told that story very much, and I think about it a lot. It's kind of like me being here and being involved with all this stuff, and it's like this is part of what He had set up. It didn't have nothing to do with me. It was He had something else in store, and so yeah, that's
Yeah,
another one of those
it
things.
wasn't your time. Yeah, it wasn't your time. There was something ahead.
Yeah, for
Mm,
sure,
mm,
100%.
Dude, something that stuck out to me though, that not to go way back in what you're talking about, but man, I had to actually type it out while you were talking, so I didn't forget. You mentioned talking about being raised in church and then straying, and then you're like, I never stopped believing in God. Dude, I did the same thing, and I know so did Landon. Why do y'all
yeah.
think that is for us? Like, dude, because I strayed so far from God at times in my life, but I
So
never lost faith in God. I never stopped believing in Him. That's kind of stupid
ain't it strange?
when you
Yeah.
really
It's
think
it's
about it. How
it's
does that
strange.
happen? Because it's one thing to question God and question your faith and question these things, and so you stray. But I
Yeah,
don't know about you, Landon, or Colton, but me, I always believed in God. I just stopped being a good Christian for a long
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. And
Kind of dumb.
I think it's something also that kind of comes back into you of like as a teenager of, you know, and there's just that rebellious bone in us of it's not necessarily that I don't want to go to church or don't want to do this week because I don't want to be with God, but it was more sometimes for me of just like, well, I know what I want to do. So I just want to go do what I want to do instead of doing what my mom's telling me to do or doing what I know I'm supposed to be doing. I want to go try this out because I'm a teenager and I know what I want to do, you know?
I was straying long after being a teenager. But yeah, I mean, I know what you're saying. I was far removed from being a teenager and still very much straying.
Yeah.
Dude, I think I typed out, "Are we privileged to be raised in Christian homes? Are we? Is it a privileged mentality? Like we do we feel covered by our like our raising? You know, is that why we're confident and comfortable to stray and go do our own thing, and knowing with full knowledge and understanding of Jesus Christ, full on faith in Him?"
Yeah, and you know, I think for me personally, took I took advantage of God's grace and mercy on my life. Of I
Amen.
knew if I asked for His forgiveness, He would be faithful to forgive me. Um, what I look back now was, this is kind of what we talked about last week. Um, there's a difference between asking for forgiveness and just saying, God, I'm sorry, and then turning around and doing the same thing that you do every week, which is what a lot I was doing. I wasn't asking forgiveness. I was just saying, I'm sorry. Um, and I wasn't sorry for what I was doing. I was just acting sorry, you know? Um, so it's one of those things of, I think, until what I've seen for a lot of people who grew up in a Christian home is there's a lot of time, and there's some people who don't ever stray off, and man, what a blessing those kids are to their parents and to the world. I wish that was me. I wish that was my
Same here.
story of I never went off the path. But I see so many kids who I grew up in church with, and have such a similar story of, it's one thing whenever we understand who God is, we understand the principles. Um, but then there comes a time where you have to move away from the things that your parents had told you, and you have to be a man and go out and start living those things that are true. And you realize real quick, it's a whole lot easier to go through life just living like the world than it is to step up every day and go out and live for Christ. Because it's a whole lot easier for me to go out and yell and scream and be mad than it is to turn around and find joy and happiness and peace in tough times. And tough times are everywhere you look, every day you go.
Yeah. Well, it's easy to be of the world, like we talk about all the time, because there's plenty of people doing that stuff, you know, and it's
Yeah.
you kind of stand out whenever, you know, almost like that guy that Kolten worked with that was the only one not cussing. I mean,
Yeah.
you mean to tell me that not cussing made you stand out? That's the
I was just,
person everybody's noticing, but it's the
I was
truth,
gonna,
because in
yeah,
a world full of cussing, the guy not doing it stands out, and that's what happens when you turn from all sin. I mean, cussing. I'm not talking specifically about cussing, but just anything. I mean, when you
yeah.
turn away from the things that are of this world, people are going to notice it.
Well, and the word says that we are to be set apart, right? And so that's one of the things too. Is like it's funny you mentioned that, because like that's one of the windows that I have to minister at work, because when I get around a crew, it don't take but a couple days, and they notice that, and for sure.
Yeah.
And it's usually at some point, somebody's gonna ask me. They're gonna walk up and they're gonna ask me. They're like, "Hey man, you don't cuss, do you?" And it always happens. And I've even had Mexican guys come up and tell somebody they can't speak English, but they'll tell somebody to ask me why I don't cuss. So it's funny, but that opens a window for me to minister to somebody, to tell them my
Yeah.
testimony. You know what I
Praise
mean? In
God.
some way. But it's funny because it opens up a window at work a lot.
Glory to God. Now,
Amen.
I got to use this time to transition into some of the scriptures I got today because it's so, I mean, it literally, this is the perfect conversation for it.
Man, lay it on.
Man, I was in Ephesians 4 all day today. I was led to it. I can't explain it.
Ain't got no job.
was dealing with something, that too. I was dealing with something earlier where I was like, hey, I kind of Googled real quick, like earlier today, like, hey, need help with this, XYZ. Biblical verses, and it took me to Ephesians 4. I don't even remember what verse at this point because I've read Ephesians 4 probably 17, 18 times today. It's just back and forth. I swapped versions to ESV and read through it and back to King James, and I'm trying to grasp an understanding of it. So for those listening, but we are by no means Bible scholars and by no means trying to be Bible scholars. But man, what I'm taking here, so in Ephesians 4, it's a call of how to walk worthy of salvation. But when you walk back to Ephesians 3, which you kind of have to because it's Ephesians 4 starts out with therefore, and my pastor always says if there's a therefore, it's there for a reason, and so you have to back up a little bit and figure out exactly what's going on. Well, in Ephesians 3, he's essentially saying that, Paul's writing from jail to the church in Ephesus, and he's basically saying that down in verse 6 that the Gentiles should be fellow heirs and of the same body and partakers of the promise of Christ by the gospel. Basically that there is no Jew and Gentile, it's just followers of Christ now, right? And he goes through for a whole chapter basically talking about that. When he gets to 4, though, chapter 4, that's when he's making a call for them to walk worthy of the salvation, and actually tells them how they're going to, like, what they need to do and not do to walk worthy of that. So, to avoid reading the entire chapter, which is worth a read, please, if you're listening, go back and read all the way through it. But I just highlighted certain verses. So right off the bat, 1 and 2, I therefore, the prisoner of the Lord, beseech you that you walk worthy of the vocation wherewith you are called, with all lowliness and meekness, and with long suffering, forbearing one another in love. So lowliness, meekness, highlighted right off the bat. And then jump down to 13 and 14. See, till we all come in the unity of the faith and of the knowledge of the Son of God, unto a perfect man, unto the measure of the stature of the fullness of Christ, that we henceforth no more be no more children, tossed to and fro, carried about with every wind of doctrine, by the sleight of man and cunning craftiness whereby they lie in wait to deceive. Comparing that to children, to allowing just any doctrine or anything, and I think instantly of the world and the things that we hear about and the trends that pop up or the things people are doing or things of this world that we follow. You're not going to follow that anymore because that's what a child would do. Which I find that super interesting. And then my Bible being a reference Bible, I always look for when it points me to somewhere else. And this one points me over to 1 Corinthians 14:20, which is, to paraphrase, let's just read it. Yeah. Brethren, be not children in understanding. Howbeit in malice be ye children, but in understanding be men. Well, we've talked about this plenty of times. How do you get understanding? Right? So he's basically saying that going to and fro and following just anything makes you a child. Now, here in Ephesians, it doesn't say specifically, specifically that it's childish, but it's basically saying get in your Bible, right? Get in your Bible, understand your Bible, because having understanding is the basis for you as a man and as a leader, right? And as a follower of Christ, because if you don't have the knowledge that comes from this word, then you are like a child and you will believe anything you hear. You can follow just anybody that sounds good, and you're not able to you're not able to pick out what's right and wrong, what's good and
Yeah.
bad always, right? And then I put on here all the way 17 through 29. I'm not going to read all of that, but man, there's just so much good stuff in here. Let's see. Having the understanding darkened, being alienated from the life of God through the ignorance that is in them. Oh, it's talking about the world. So, this I say, therefore, and testify in the Lord, that you henceforth walk not as other Gentiles walk, in the vanity of their minds, having the understanding darkened, being alienated from the life of God through the ignorance that is in them, because of the blindness of their heart. Being past feelings have given themselves over to lavishness, to work all uncleanness with greediness. Sounds a lot like the world we live in now. But if you jump down there to the bottom, Kolten, this one's for you. Verse 29, let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto hearers. And I actually have highlighted and circled this from notes that I made in the past. This is not from today. But I highlighted that I underlined that entire verse, and then I circled edifying. And then I actually wrote out the definition: to instruct or improve someone morally or intellectually. So if what you're saying doesn't help someone out morally or intellectually, shut up.
Yeah.
And that's so cool, man, because it's not just talking about, it's not just talking about cussing. Like I could cut out cussing. I have for the most part. It comes out when I get mad though. But it's not even just that. It's talking out of turn, man. It's saying the wrong thing that would only serve to upset somebody or cause problems, you know. But it's teaching us how to use our mouth to edify, to help others morally and intellectually.
We've talked a few times. I got a group that kind of on another note, but started a Bible study. It started out, it was like 2 or 3 different groups, and now it's turned into like 8. It's pretty awesome. It's been exploding. One of the things we've talked about is like how important your words are. Like that kind of sounds crazy, but if you go back and look, for one, obviously the word says, and I believe it's in Psalms or Proverbs, it says that the power of life and death is in the tongue. And so,
and those who love it will eat the fruit thereof.
Exactly. And so, but the
Proverbs.
thing is like, yeah. And one of the things that I always say, but one of the things I say is like, if you don't think words matter, how did God create the world? Like how did he make creation with his words, right? And so that's a big deal. But the other thing is too, is like, if like when you're talking to somebody, even your wife, like this is a big deal because men is what I deal with all the time, you know, but even your wife, like, think about the things that you say to her and like how you're talking to her. Are those things building her up? You know, are you, when you say something to her, even in a joking manner, because that's what got me for a long time.
Woo.
It was those comments.
You know,
it was those comments that I would make that were hurtful. But oh yeah, I'm just joking. You know, or I'm kidding. You know, and that ain't right. You know what I mean? We shouldn't be doing that. And so, and I mean, we all are. Don't get me wrong. You know what I mean? But those type of things matter, man. And even so another one that I've really noticed lately is your kids, man. Speaking things over your kids, and I've seen it obviously with our kids, but other people's kids too. Is just like saying, for instance, and this was a situation. I say a situation. We were at a friend's of ours, and we were talking or whatever, and their little boy done something or whatever, and he's just like my little one, you know, he's wide open all the time, and he done something, I don't remember what it was, and he was like going into the house, and she was like, yeah, she's like, some days he's just bad. And I looked at her and I said, hold on. And she's like, what? And I said, can I tell you something? I was like, I'm not, you know, doing nothing. I just want you to try something for me. She's like, what? And I was like, don't speak like that, especially where he can hear you. I was like, but don't speak those words over him. I said, you need to, and you've probably heard this terminology. Uh, uh, like there's an analogy that a guy says. I think it's an old Indian tale, but uh, he's got two dogs. He's got two dogs tied up inside of him, and he's got a dark dog and a light dog, and which one of the dogs is the one that lives, and it's the one that you feed. So if you're speaking life into something, you know what I mean? That's what you're going to get. But if you're speaking negative into something, then that's what you're going to get, you know? So anyway, but no, that's
Come on.
got me on a tear there, but words matter, man. They do. And I've seen it
They do.
tremendously in our lives for sure. Just speaking life into things. And it's funny to talk about it, but I mean, it don't matter what it is. Speak life into it. Vehicles. I'm telling you, it sounds goofy, but it's not.
Brother, I done put some hands on some vehicles.
Well, and the word tells you, man, like you go back in the Gospels and look at when we're talking about words, but you go back in the Gospels and look at when Jesus would heal people and when he would cast demons out and stuff. There's you're not going to find the cases. Yes, you will find the apostles laying hands on people and things like that, but there's a ton of times where Jesus spoke to things and it happened. And then I believe it's in Mark. I believe it's in Mark 9. I don't remember. It's in Mark, the story of the boy with epilepsy that he's the demons throwing him in the fire and all these things throwing him in the water, and his dad comes to Jesus. Your disciples couldn't cast him out. Can you? And that's one of the things that Jesus says back to him. That was his response: is speak to the mountain and it shall move. Speak to your mountain. And when mountain, I think problem or situation or whatever it is. But that's one of the things that he says is speak. So anyway, I get off on a tear.
No, I'm with you on that, dude. I'm with you. I was speaking right to myself when I was reading that off, man, because I done pretty well nipped the cussing in the bud for the most part. But man, still may have a problem, on several fronts when it comes to, just from speaking evil. And I'm quick to tell somebody, hey, don't speak that into existence. That's one of my favorite
100%.
things to say. But it's so true. How much are we doing that? And then even if it wasn't, what good is that? What good is it?
Yeah.
If it's negative, and I'm negative Nancy, man. I got a comment for everything. So I promise you that's a thorn in my wife's side is I got a comment for everything. But
and man, kind of like how you're talking, Blake. That was my story. Is I mean, I worked in a warehouse for 5 years, and um, tell you what, I'd get real proud of myself that I didn't cuss. But then I'd be the next person who came by and just trying to be funny to, boy, you got a big old head on you, or something, and just mess with somebody. And I had multiple times where I had people come up to me privately and be like, "Hey, man, I know you're just being funny, just trying to crack a joke," and it was funny, but also like I ain't gonna lie, that kind of either made me mad or hurt my feelings, whatever story it was. But for that person, and it's like, dang, I go home and be like, it would have been better if I just cussed that dude out. Um, like I hurt him way worse with the words that I said than any cuss word that I could have said to him. And real fast, I just we're talking about it, and I love the book of James, and James 3 is almost the whole chapter of 3 is almost all talking about the tongue. And I'm just going to go through it real fast, but it says, if we put bits into the mouths of horses and they obey us, we guide their whole bodies as well. Look at the ships also. Though they are so large and are driven by strong winds, they are guided by a very small rudder, wherever the will of the pilot directs. So also the tongue is a small member, yet it boasts of great things. How great a forest is set ablaze by such a small fire. And the tongue is a fire, a world of unrighteousness. The tongue is set among our members, staining the whole body, setting on fire the entire course of life, and set on fire by hell. For every kind of beast and bird, of reptile and sea creature can be tamed and has been tamed by mankind, but no human being can tame the tongue. It is a restless evil full of deadly and poison. With it we bless our Lord and Father, and with it we curse people who are made in the likeness of God. From the same mouth come blessing and cursing. My brothers, these things ought not to be so. Does a spring pour forth from the same opening both fresh and salt water? Can a fig tree, my brother, bear olives, or a grapevine produce figs? Neither can a salt pond yield fresh water. And man, that's tough. Like you start looking at that, like how are you going to sit there and lead someone to Christ if the only thing, the only way that person sees what's coming out of your mouth is words that are tearing that person down. I'm not going to listen to that person tell me about Christ. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's like you said, that's tearing somebody down or just being negative all the time, or I mean, it's just about anything that's not edifying, huh? I mean,
Yeah.
literally anything that isn't edifying, just like the word said, is not going to lead someone else to Christ. It's not going to emulate Christ. Yeah, dude, it's
Yeah.
crazy how I feel like edifying is the perfect word. That's like the perfect word that could have been used.
Yeah. If
100%.
if it's not actively building that person up or enriching that person, then there's no reason for it to come out of our mouth.
That's it. If you don't have nothing nice to say, don't say nothing at all.
Yeah, that's what Mama said. If you ain't got nothing nice to
That's right.
say, my Mimi used to say that all the time.
Abigail says it all the time.
There's truth.
Yeah, it's
There's a
fine.
lot of truth in it. I could
There you
definitely use that lesson.
Well, shoot you.
Boys, y'all got anything else? We wrap this one up right here. It's not a bad spot.
No, man,
Man,
I
we can.
really enjoyed it. Go ahead, Colton. Sorry.
We'll have to do it again for sure. I do
Yeah.
have one thing for y'all and anybody that watches this. I feel like it's definitely a life changing deal. But this is a book. It's called Maximized Manhood. Uh, it's written by Edwin Lewis Cole, and wrote this book in the '80s, and it is wild how much it correlates to this day's time. It still stands true. And anyway, they got a big network and stuff, but the church, one of the leaders in the church had a group of guys going through this book last year, and they read it, and I just heard about it from somebody else that they were reading that book, and so I went and bought it, and just a little short deal, but it's kind of a gut punch, but it'll make you put things in perspective for sure. Something to check out anyway. Maximize Manhood's the name of it.
I'm gonna check it out tomorrow.
For sure.
Yeah, sounds good,
Check it
man.
out. It's good. Heck yeah. But we need to
Well,
do this again for sure.
Yeah,
yeah,
man. Anytime, honestly, man. We do them every Monday. So
yeah,
we anytime, man. I thank you for coming on, Colton, man. It was everything I needed it to be and more. I really
yeah,
enjoyed listening to your testimony, man. I've only heard, honestly, like probably the last 3 or 4 years portion of it. I wasn't aware of any of that stuff from your childhood. But man, I was excited to have you on. MA suggested it, and I was like, man, yeah, we for sure. Just because I
Yeah,
know firsthand just how much your life has changed over the last few years, and I knew no matter what, you'd have something to bring to the table, and you definitely did.
I appreciate it.
heck yeah, man. It
It
was a
was an honor,
blessing to
man. I
myself
really
as
enjoyed
well.
it. Thank you. Nice to meet you too, Landon, for sure.
Yeah, yeah, you too, buddy. You too. Uh, as always, I'll lead us out in a prayer, and then we'll close this thing on out.
Sounds good.
Dear Father, we thank you for another day just to be able to come into your presence, God. As always, our prayer for this thing is, Lord, just that um, there might be that one person out there that hears something that you spoke through one of us, and it just touches their life, Lord, and leads them to you. God, we pray over our families and over our country, just that everyone would turn to you and seek you and know you and know your love, God. Um, Lord, thank you for Jesus. Thank you for his blood that he shed for us on Calvary, and is the reason that we can be in your presence today, God. We pray all these things in Jesus' great, mighty, and holy name. Amen.
Amen.
Well, boys, once again, Colton, is fantastic having you, man. Anytime you want to come back on, you just let us know. We got a spot for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We'll do it for
Mr.
sure.
Mr. Rudell, I'll see you again next week.
Cool. See you guys.
All right. Later.